Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something super cool to take a look at today, as we do have the newest version of the Neca King Kong to take a look at. This one was a little bit complicated for me to track down, as I had seen quite a few people acquiring it and it wasn't showing up in my area, but luckily it has. And I will say that the Neca figures usually show up a lot quicker than the Jurassic figures do at my Target, so Mattel, start getting better at sending over new stock to Target, or Target, you need to get better at acquiring it. One of the two. Either way, this Kong looks really cool, and one really exciting aspect of it for me, if we look at the back here, is the fact that this is the first time that we've had like alternate creatures included, as if you look at the bottom right there, it does say includes Pteranodon, pit monster, and then of course a tree trunk and an interchangeable head and hands. But the fact that we have some alternate creatures here included with our Kong is really, really awesome. I'm hoping and praying pretty much at this point that they release the other dinosaurs from the original 1933 Kong. Like, I would love to see the Stegosaurus or Tyrannosaurus or something like that get a release from Neca. That would just be incredible. But what we do have, again, right here is definitely an exciting start to the release of other prehistoric creatures with Kong, and gives me hope that we will see maybe some of those other species at some point. But the packaging is really cool looking, shows some pretty darn awesome images of the Kong model itself. And then once we turn it around to the front, if we open it up and we get a nice look at the inside of the packaging here, you can see a really cool image of Kong on the left, looking like he's ready to do battle, as well as a shot here of Kong within the plastic on the right, but it's just so super glossy it'll be impossible for us to really see anything until we get our Kong out. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So here is our King Kong, who is standing back a little bit further. We can't see him too well. We've also got our pit monster right here. We've got the numerous different hands of Kong. We've got 4 different hands. Well, of course, 2 different sets of hands that we can interchange with our King Kong. We've also got a different head included, as well as a log right here that our Kong would obviously be using to hunt or fight whatever it is exactly that he is interested in. And then we've also got a Pteranodon, which is really exciting because he's got something on him right there, some fuzz or something. But these are the first kind of prehistoric type of figures that I've been able to acquire from Neca, unless you consider Godzilla technically prehistoric, I guess. But I've never been able to acquire like a dinosaur, a pterodactyl, a marine reptile, anything like that from Neca until now. But the set does look really cool. Of course, King Kong looks fantastic like he always does. The King Kong that we have here does look pretty much exactly the same, it seems, as the previous King Kong release. There's actually 2 prior to this. There's kind of like a poster version, I believe, which I have not picked up. I don't know if I'm going to, because I'm not a big fan of that one. But then there was the initial original release, and I just kind of viewed this one next to the initial release, and the body itself seems to be pretty much the same, but the heads are very different in comparison to the previous one. Even the eye color is different on this one compared to the previous one. But we also have the addition of some, other creatures included, with a pit monster and a Pteranodon in this one. So let's go ahead, get a closer look at them right now. So starting with our King Kong, you can see that the head sculpt of our King Kong looks really, really nice, like perfectly resembling King Kong from the 1933 film. And you can see he does sport quite a bit of different wounds all across the entire figure. You can see some slices up here in the face, up here on the eyebrow, this eyebrow as well, right here in the cheek. You've also got one up here on the top of the head, and they've all been painted with a nice reddish coloration, very realistic coloration as far as the blood goes, and they've been given a beautiful gloss coat, so it looks super realistic. When you get nice and close, and as long as the shadows don't kill us here, you can see the eye paint looks really nice. The eye is painted with a white, then given a gray, then given a black pupil, and they honestly look incredibly realistic and incredibly lifelike. Like, the eyes are very impressive on this figure, like they were on the initial King Kong. So that area of the model looks great. There we can see a nice shot of both eyes. They look beautiful as far as that paintwork goes. Pretty much genuinely alive, I would say. As you look down here into the mouth, you can see the teeth of Kong are painted with kind of like a light gray, and you can even see the gums and everything are painted really nicely in there with a dark maroon type of a color and given a beautiful gloss coat, so it looks super, super realistic inside the mouth. If we actually open the mouth, we can see the inside as well, showing off the tongue right there, which is painted with a version of a pink, and you can see the upper side of the mouth as well. Looks really quite nice, so beautifully done as far as that goes. And the teeth do look really nice as far as the paintwork the entire way back, but the sculpt as well is really quite incredible on the teeth. You can definitely see how each and every tooth sports a really nice, very detailed, and very lifelike appearance. And the articulated jaw actually works really, really smoothly. You can see that right there. Works beautifully as far as the figure goes. You can see that the actual fur detail and everything looks really nice. The ears are sculpted out here on the side of the head of Kong. Over here as well, it continues to look beautiful. We do have really nice articulation in the head there, in the neck region, so you can turn the head wherever you would like. And that's actually really smooth as far as that articulation goes. It works pretty much perfectly. Leading down into the chest, you can see some really nice detailing here to the skin of the pecs, as well as, again, some more wounds on our Kong, which this all looks exactly the same as the previous release goes. When it comes to even the coloration, it's all pretty much exactly the same as what we had seen on the last one, which I actually never reviewed here on the channel. I wasn't too sure if I was going to, and then when the time had come to really decide, it was a little too late. There was really no point in reviewing it. If you guys would like, I can review it for you, but honestly, it's not too different from the one that we see here, except it has less extras. But as you continue to move down the course of Kong, you can see again another wound here in the stomach region, and the paintwork as well as the sculpt work continues to look phenomenal. Like, you can see lots of different variations of lighter and darker shades of brown that really highlight the fur of Kong and making it look incredibly lifelike, incredibly realistic. As you continue to run down the course of the body, you can see that the fur gets a little bit shaggier in the legs, just slightly in comparison to what we could see in the stomach region, and it continues to have really nice realistic paint application, which is something that is quite common as far as NECA figures go. The same thing continues as we move down into the feet. You can see the feet are beautifully sculpted, very highly detailed, showing off even like the little creases within the skin of the toes. The nails look really nice, even though there's no actual nail paint, which definitely could have made this look a little better had they actually given it nail paint. The nails on the hands as well do not have nail paint specifically, it seems, unless the nail paint is just a slightly different shade of gray. It's kind of hard, honestly, to really decide if there is nail paint, but I don't really see any for sure signs that there is. But you can see again some beautiful detailing here to the hands. You have the knuckles sculpted out quite nicely right there. The fur on the arms again looks great the entire way through the entire animal. You can see that some very nice muscle tone has been displayed throughout the arms. Of course, Kong is incredibly strong in any and every film he's ever been portrayed. You have more really nice articulation, but we will get to that point to discuss the articulation at some point soon. And then as far as the back of King Kong goes, again, the fur continues to look incredible. You can see some real nice muscle definition displayed throughout the entire back, especially up in the shoulder area of Kong. So continuing to show off the fact that he's an incredibly strong creature. And you can see, again, actually some really nice shading and stuff has been applied with like a darker black as you lead down the course of Kong. And then the rears of the legs also look beautiful. So the sculpt and paint job of King Kong is incredibly well done. And then we have an alternate head that does not have any articulation with the mouth. You can see some more wounds, actually even more wounds, I would say, on this version in comparison to the version we were just looking at. And we have just kind of like this angry look on Kong's face right there. The eyes are painted the same way, but they're a little harder to see on this one because the eyebrows are brought down because he has that really angry look to him. So it's a little hard to actually fend off the shadows to see the eye paint, but it looks really, really good. So another beautiful addition to the set is an alternate head. And then you've got hands galore, so you can switch out the hands to fists or just open hands. It's really up to you to decide what exactly you would like to display on your Kong, but they look great, they really do. The sculpts of anything NECA are usually fantastic, and you can even see like articulation, which it's really stiff. I would definitely have to hit that with some hot water. That does not want to move, and I don't want to break it, but you can definitely see again that the sculpts of the hands are fantastic. And then we've got our pit monster, which as well looks really, really cool. Beautiful sculpt on this. Very, very nice looking. You can see some really nice fine scaling and everything on our pit monster. Very nicely painted nails with a black. The teeth all look really nice as far as the paintwork and sculpt work goes. The jaw is articulated actually, so we have some articulation on the figure. It doesn't go too wide honestly, but you can see it is articulated a little bit. There's also some articulation in the neck right there as we have a swivel. The eyes are painted really quite nicely right there. You can see them a little bit. There we go. They look really quite nice. Very nice and carefully placed. Beautiful paintwork on this guy as well. I will say that. The paintwork, although it's nothing special, does look really quite nice. And they've very nice and naturally applied the paint to the figure. So the pit monster is really quite beautiful, honestly. And I love that this is included, just having more creatures for our King Kong. And then, of course, we have the log, which the log honestly looks so realistic and so legit. Like, it looks like a piece of a stick that I just picked up outside and brought in to show you guys, but it is of course an actual log included here with the King Kong figure, and it is really beautifully sculpted, showing off every ounce of detail wonderfully within this log. But the paintwork is as well just top notch, just like pretty much everything else in this set. And then we've got our Pterodactyl, and the Pteranodon as well looks really quite nice from a sculpt standpoint. You can see it definitely has that old school kind of stop motion appearance to it, very reminiscent of what it looked like in King Kong. Beautiful detailing within the wings, showing off lots of really nice skin movement on the flaps of the wings right here. Like, you can see a lot of kind of wavy skin detail here to the wings of the Pteranodon. You have some nice sculpt work here on the underside. Definitely looks like it needs to eat a little more, but the detailing aspect does look really quite nice. You have some shades of purple as we lead up here into the face. The neck is articulated, as is the jaw, so you can open that mouth really quite wide. You have the tongue right there that is painted, looks really cool, and the jaw works perfectly. You can see that from a detailing standpoint, the Pteranodon honestly looks incredibly well done. You can also see the eyes are painted quite nicely right there, given a nice white coloration and a black pupil. They're very nice and carefully painted. The nostrils are as well painted and sculpted out really beautifully, given a nice dark coloration to elaborate those. And it has a very realistic application to the paint from pretty much every view I see of it. It honestly looks really, really nice. And if we take a look here at the back of our Pteranodon, you can again see how nice the actual skin detail is to the figure, as well as kind of like some dark reds that run down along the back of the Pteranodon. I will say that the coloration here on the back doesn't look all that great, but it doesn't look terrible. Definitely looks a little more so like paint on a figure as opposed to realistic body color like we had seen on the previous side, the front of the Pteranodon. And it's mostly like these blue spots right here don't look all that natural, and neither do the red. Like, you could see kind of like some leaky paint right there, but it's not terrible. Again, it's really only an issue when you look at it up close. From a little bit further away, it's not too bad. I would have liked to have seen some articulation in the wings of the Pteranodon, but regardless, it is still a really awesome extra for this fantastic King Kong release. And then as far as articulation on our King Kong goes, even though his head's a little higher than our frame currently, we have seen the articulated jaw, which works beautifully, and the articulation in the neck, so we don't really need to revisit that too much. But you do have articulation right here in the shoulder, and I'm guaranteeing you some of these joints are going to be stiff because I haven't used them yet. You also have articulation right here, and then in the elbow as well. So you can, I don't want to bend this too hard and break it because it's really not been used yet. Definitely a good idea, just like with the beasts of the Mesozoic figures from time to time when you get NECA figures, it's a good idea to loosen the joints with some hot water or a hair dryer or something to warm them up to where you can ease them in and not snap them. This is straight out of the box, so I haven't done that, but you can definitely see that those areas are there to articulate if you warm them up, as well as the articulation in the wrist, which works pretty good, but it's a little stiff right there. You have the same articulation over here on this arm. I don't know if the elbow moves a little better over here, so we can definitely see it moving now over on this side and then up here. And it's not going to do too much, but again, it's very, very stiff. You also have articulation here in the midsection of our Kong, so we can use that one. That one does look pretty good. We also have hip articulation, so our legs can go forward and back, and we can have King Kong do some sort of a dance if we really want to. You also have articulation in the knees. I should not be forcing it like this. It's a really bad idea, but you can see there's two different areas of articulation right here in the knees to give it that really nice and very smooth curve that looks super, super realistic right there. I love the way that that articulates. Pretty much, in my opinion, like very innovative articulation as far as how smooth and realistic that looks right there. And then you also have articulation in the ankle area right here, so you can swivel that ankle all around. So lots and lots and lots of articulation for our Kong. As far as a size goes, you're not going to get too much other than a height on something like King Kong. So probably not the best view for you guys, but I can see it straightforward. It is about 8 inches or 20 centimeters tall. As far as our pit monster goes, he's very small. You're looking at about the 2.5 inch range, or about 6.5 centimeters, somewhere in that area. The Pteranodon, if we go for like a wingspan, you are looking at about, if we go actually above it, you're looking at about the 14 centimeter range, 5.5, maybe closing in on 5.75 inches. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Golovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our NECA King Kong. And you can definitely see in comparison to these figures right here, it looks really nice, very sizable, pretty cool looking confrontation right there with the Papo Rex and the King Kong. A really cool image of the two together, but you could definitely help to get a good idea, I think, of the size right here with these two. Unfortunately, my initial King Kong I don't actually have out of the packaging, or I would do a comparison between those two as well. If you guys would like a review of that one, I can review it, but it's really not too different from this one right here. But again, I would compare the two, but I just haven't taken it out of the packaging. So this brand new NECA King Kong, the third variant of King Kong released from NECA, is beautiful. Yet another fantastic release as far as this figure goes. And now that I actually have this one and the very first one, I'm very tempted to buy that kind of poster version one that they have out, even though it's pretty ugly. But just to kind of complete my NECA King Kong collection, it's very, very tempting. Not sure if I'll do it yet, but this King Kong is really, really nice looking. As far as a sculpt and detail aspect goes, it is as highly detailed as it gets, which is something that you can pretty much always say when it comes to NECA. When it comes to a sculpt and a NECA figure, you're going to get an insanely highly detailed sculpt continuously, and that is exactly what I find here with everything included, whether it's the King Kong, whether it's the pit monster, the Pteranodon, the log, everything is super highly detailed and beautifully sculpted out. The paintwork is also fantastic. Like, NECA has done an incredibly nice job on this one here, and it's potentially one of the nicest NECA figures paint-wise I think I've seen, even outdoing a lot of the Godzilla figures that they had released prior, which some of those were really, really good, but all of the paint on this King Kong, in my opinion, looks really nice and natural. Usually with like some of the Godzillas, most of the areas will look really nice and natural, but then sometimes they'd add like some paint on that doesn't look that great, but everything on this Kong honestly looks incredible. I feel like the gloss coat that they could have used on the body as far as the wounds go doesn't look quite as nice as the gloss coat that's on the face, but that's just a very, very minor nitpick, and in no way, shape, or form a big deal. I love the fact that they've actually added on those wounds, though, again showing the rough life that King Kong is currently living. And the Kong as well sports incredible amounts of articulation that I have not warmed up to really move around quite yet, but the articulation definitely allows for some very cool poses to be created with it, as always when it comes to a NECA figure. The extras in this set are a interchangeable head and hands, which you do have two different sets of hands, which allows for some really cool display options with your figure. And then you also have that really cool head, which does not have an articulated jaw, but is a fun addition to the set, giving a very angry, mean-looking appearance as far as the shape of the eyebrows in comparison to the a little bit friendlier-looking initial head that we have on our Kong. We also have the pit monster, which looks super nice. Honestly, that's probably one of my favorite additions to this set. It's really well done from a sculpt and detailing department, but the paint is pretty much just as nice as the sculpt is. Definitely an awesome addition to this set. And then you have the Pteranodon, and the Pteranodon as well looks incredible. beautifully sculpted, beautifully painted, very nice, very highly detailed, and both the Pteranodon and Pit Monster have their own articulation as well, which is incredibly cool on top of everything else. So definitely a really nice set that I highly recommend anybody interested in picking up at Target. That's where I found mine. It retailed for $29.99, like most of the Target NECA figures usually do, and again, it's definitely worth the price of admission for sure. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we get more figures as far as the King Kong series goes and the other creatures that have appeared in those films. Definitely something I would love to see as time goes on from NECA. So if you are interested in this, make sure you head to your local Target, pick one up today, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before you do. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.